Well, I think it started. Welcome to this evening's one-to-one, and my special guest this evening is Aussie Mark's channel. He's from Townsville in Queensland, aren't you? I believe.
That's right. Yep.
So welcome, Aussie Mark, or Mark. I'll call you Mark now.
Yeah, that's fine.
So, Mark, the first thing I'm going to ask you is, could you tell us a bit about yourself and a bit about your channel, what it's all about?
Yeah, sure. Well, thanks first of all for having me on your one-to-one. I appreciate that, Keith. Yeah, now I am in my mid-50s. I'm married and no kids. I live in North Queensland, as you said, and I've been here for a long time. My YouTube channel, I think I started in about 8 or 9 years ago, but I'd have to check that. And yeah, my channel is basically it's pretty much functions is dealing with drones at the moment. Yeah, I try and make a mix of examples of drone flying, Keith, along with tutorials about how to improve drone photos and video.
Yes, which I've been watching recently and commenting on.
Thank you.
So, because I've done a lot of research about you, because I've been through about, I would say, 60% of your videos in the last.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
One of the things that I really enjoyed, which you've stopped doing, I think, 3 years ago, I think it was, or 4 years ago, it was your paper making. Because the one, well, I watched them all, but the one that I really enjoyed was the American bald eagle that you made. So could you tell us a bit about that hobby of yours, paper making, whether you still do it?
Yeah, sure. I have, it's called paper craft, and basically what it involves is there are literally hundreds of plans of how to make three-dimensional models on the internet, and basically you just download the models and cut out the individual pieces. Sometimes there's hundreds of pieces, so I guess in that way it's a bit like a jigsaw. And then you glue them together to create all sorts of things, like the bald eagle that you mentioned. And actually, I've got one right to hand here somewhere. What have I done with it? Oh, here, let me show you.
By all means.
There you go. I don't know if you can see that little bird. That's a peregrine falcon that I made. So that's just entirely made out of cardboard. And yeah, basically you just use glue and scissors and glue them together. Lots of different models you can make on the internet. And yeah, I don't know why I kind of just went through a phase like I do with different hobbies. You probably saw on the on my channel, and then yeah, I let it go for a while.
Yeah, because I mean, I really enjoyed those, you know, and I mean, I thought to myself, what a wonderful hobby, you know. I mean, the dolphin I saw, and you know, well, I've watched them all, and I thought, wow, what a man, you know, because I mean, how long have we been subscribing to each other? About 4 or 5 months, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
And you never look at people's past videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
You know, when you subscribe, you look at 2 or 3. But we're doing this one-to-one. I do a lot of research. I look and find things to talk about. So the first one, your very first video I watched on YouTube yesterday was the self-pity film. Can you remember anything about that? Because that's going back 7 years, I think it was.
Oh my goodness. No, I really can't. You know more about it than I do. I can't remember what I said back then. You'll have to enlighten me, Keith.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna, you know, what I suggest is if you do subscribe to Mark's channel, go back and have a look at some of his wonderful videos and how he's improved as a YouTuber, because I find that fascinating to see how people have progressed from when they first started on YouTube.
Oh yeah, well, I think that's it. I think that's a very good idea. And you know what I'm going to do now? Tomorrow or later today, I'm going to go back on your channel.
You're welcome. You are very welcome, Mark. Another thing that I found fascinating about you is that when you reached 40, you did a video of or mentioned that you started to learn to play the trumpet, and you went into a brass band. Are you still doing that as a hobby?
Wow, gee, you've done your research, Keith. I'm impressed. Yeah, I'd always had this dream to play jazz music, actually, not brass band music particularly, and because I think I was introduced to jazz by my parents as a child, and I thought when I was heading towards 40, I think I've got to pursue this dream. I've had it for ages. So I went and I've never played a trumpet before in my life. I have played the trombone briefly as a child, but yeah, that was a long, long time ago. So I'm sure we can remember our childhood just barely.
Yeah.
And anyway, yeah, so I went and found a local teacher here, Keith, and unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but he was involved in brass band music, and he suggested after I'd been taking lessons for about 6 to 8 months that I join the brass band as a way to hone my skills. So I joined this brass band. It was like their second class band, I guess you'd say, and it was mainly teenagers, believe it or not. I was turning 40 and these young people, but yeah, they were really nice folks, and yeah, I ended up playing on my 40th birthday in a concert, happened to fall on exactly the same day. So I haven't, it's one of many hobbies, as you've seen, just from looking at my YouTube channel, that I have come and gone by the wayside. So I don't play anymore. I sold my trumpet, and I guess I kind of realized by playing in the brass band that maybe I didn't have the talent I needed, sadly, to actually learn jazz, which is a whole different thing to playing in a brass band.
Yeah, but I mean, you're still young enough to take it up again and play jazz. I mean, that's one of my favourite music genres, is jazz music. I love jazz music. Yeah,
I do too. We go to jazz festivals, my wife and I, and yeah, I would like to do it, but I guess I'm not too old to start again, but I don't know. I think you have to have a talent. It's not just a matter of wanting to learn. You actually have to have a God-given talent, a feel for the jazz, so that the trumpet becomes almost like your voice, where you basically, you can pitch your voice at any pitch you choose without even thinking about it. And that's what you need to do to play jazz trumpet. But who knows what the future holds?
Oh, yeah. Well, this is it. We never know, do we? So another one of your hobbies is photography. So I saw as well. So how long have you been doing photography?
Well, photography has kind of just come relatively recently, the last couple of years, I suppose. I'm not really what you'd call a traditional photographer in as much as buying all of the best equipment and stuff. My interest in photography is more around the actual image and how I can see the image in what would you call it, like find a creative way. It's almost like, you know how you see photographers holding their hands up like this to try and frame the shot. Well, I guess I can I look for that in my mind's eye, and when I think that I can frame up a shot that looks beautiful, I just use a cheap camera, or even very often it's just my my phone, my cell phone. But I just happen to be in good locations, and I guess over a period of time, I what would you say, my aesthetic, if you like, if that's the right word, to actually see in my mind's eye a shot that I think is going to look well balanced, and yeah, and lots of sunset shots and stuff. And I've actually got an Instagram account. I don't know if you follow that, do you, Keith?
No, I'm not on that at present.
Oh, okay. Well, I've got an Instagram account too, and I try and post a beautiful photo, be it a drone photo or just a land-based photo, at least once a day. I'll give it a shout out if that's all right with you.
Yeah, that's all right.
Okay, it's called it's as with my video channel being Aussie Mark's Videos, my Instagram channel is, guess what, Aussie Mark's Photos. So anyone who's got an Instagram account, you'll be very welcome to come over and have a look at what I do. Well,
let's hope people who are watching this video either now or in the future will go over and join your, follow you on Instagram.
Yeah, thank you. I'd appreciate that.
And another thing now, which, I mean, you have mentioned, you've mentioned it on quite a few of your videos, and you mentioned it on your live stream, that you are a former primary school teacher. So, yes. And you did that for about 10 years. So can you tell us a bit about that then, Mark, please?
I sure can. So basically, when I was in high school and people started, adults particularly would say, oh, what do you want to do for a living? I kind of didn't really have anything in mind, and I think I randomly threw out one day, I wouldn't mind being a primary school teacher, thinking, oh, that's probably not going to be too hard. Stupid me. And yeah, and then from then on, whenever anyone asked me going through high school, oh, what are you going to be when you leave school? Oh, I'm going to be a primary school teacher. So I got to the end of year 12. I went to Teachers College here at a college that's actually based here in Townsville. It's about 4 hours from where I lived in a town called Mackay. And yeah, I came here, did 3 years at Teachers College, and graduated as a primary school teacher. And I think it's the same in your, the age groups are the same over there. It's from about, I think it's 6-year-olds to 12-year-olds.
Yeah, that's same as ours in the UK, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much the same, yeah. Ours did change a little bit just recently. We lopped off the final year of primary school, which is grade 7 over here, and put it into the high school area. So now we have there's now one less year age group in primary school. But yes, I did that for 10 years. And gee, there's a lot of memories going back then. You're making me, I'm getting flashbacks here.
Yeah, well, that's what it's about, Mark, isn't it, really? Because, I mean, what, you're 55, so you say. So that was a good portion of your lifetime working in primary school teaching. So what made you leave? Was it because the kids started getting unruly, or?
Yeah, I guess a combination of the fact that, like, so much of teaching, even back then, and it's way worse now, so much of teaching is not actually just about being in front of the children. You've virtually got to be a marriage guidance counsellor for the parents. You've got to be a social advocate if there's problems in the home, like, domestic violence or alcoholism or things like that affect the children. So while it was quite, satisfying being a school teacher, and I did enjoy parts of it, there was just so much apart from the 9 to 3 of teaching that just really got to me. That, and I was also developing other interests and thought, I don't know whether I can handle this for another 30 or 40 years or something, which my wife is a primary school teacher and still is. So God bless her. I don't know how she does it. Some days she comes home and it's just not, yeah, she's had a pretty rough trot of it.
Yeah.
I bet you've heard of stories of unruly kids, or they're the same the world over, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well,
so, sorry, Mark.
Sorry.
Is that where you met your wife then, through teaching?
Yeah. Actually, I did my first 2 years of school teaching at a place called the Atherton Tablelands, which is about 4 hours north of where I live, and it's as the name suggests, it's sort of up on top of a mountain plateau, and it's very English actually. There's lots of rolling hills without trees, and dairy cattle area, and yeah, I did 2 years up there. Then actually it's a funny story, because to get my second posting, at the end of 2 years, when you're single, they generally send you off somewhere really horrible, really remote and difficult. And I got a message saying that I was going to be transferred to a very remote Aboriginal community as my next posting. And it was an area that I really wasn't looking forward to going to. Then the following week, they rang me up and said, "Oh, we're sorry, we've changed our mind. You don't have to go there." That's after I told all my friends and got lots of, "Oh dear, how sad, Mark." And they said, "Oh, you don't have to go out there. We want you to go out into this tiny little community in the middle of central Queensland." So that means that's worse than the first one, because I was going to be away from the coast, and which I love. So no ocean, no fishing, just a dry dust bowl. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, well, eventually I came around to that. And a week after that, I got another message, this time saying, well, please come over to the principal's office. And I'm thinking, oh, what have I done? As you do. And they basically, the head of our area, the transfer officer, if you will, had realised he had to give me a third offer, and and he didn't want to send it via an email. Well, didn't have email back then, of course, via the phone principal's message. He wanted to speak to me personally, and he said, "Oh, we're going to send you to a bigger remote, a bigger community, and this is a place called Cloncurry, which is about what 2,500 people or something like that." Anyway. I'm making a short story long.
No, you're all right, because we're all learning about you now. We've got 5 viewers. We have been up to 7. So,
oh, that's good.
The people who are listening to the conversation, we're all learning all about you and about your, what you enjoy doing in life and everything like that.
Yeah. Well, when I went to this third place, this Cloncurry, it's called. But they did transfer me there, and I was there for 2 years, and that's where I met my wife. So that comes back to the question that you asked me. Even though she wasn't from there, she was actually from the Big Smoke, from Sydney, which I'm sure most of our viewers would know at least about the Sydney Harbour Bridge and the Opera House, if nothing else. And yeah, she decided she wanted an adventure, and she'd asked to be posted out there to the Catholic primary school, and I was at the state primary school. And yeah, we met at a function, and the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah, because you've been married, what, 28 years now, isn't it?
A bit longer than that, actually, Keith. It's about 33, I think. We got married at the end of 1983. We actually eloped one weekend from Cloncurry, came back to the coast here in Townsville, and went across to Magnetic Island, which is a beautiful little island about 20 minutes drive across the water from us. And just for a weekend with some friends of mine as witnesses, and yeah, got married over there and went back to Cloncurry and started teaching the following Monday.
Oh, that is lovely. Truly romantic, that. Lovely. Yeah, because the reason why I thought it was about 28, because I saw your 25th wedding anniversary video that you put up, and So yeah, it'd be 33.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I get, you know, I didn't look at the date because I was.
That's all right.
As I was saying, you know, whenever I interview anybody, I try to do as much research as I can, because then that keeps a conversation going. Because some people can't really talk. Some people are thinking what to say, what questions to ask. So, you know, if you do a bit of research about who you're interviewing, it shows that you've got an interest in their channel as well.
Absolutely. Well, I know you. I've been watching quite a few of your one-on-ones when I knew we were going to have this conversation, just to see the kind of work that, the kind of interviews that you do, and obviously you really do your research, which is what professional reporters do. So maybe there's a second career coming for you, Keith.
No, I like being tired, Mark. I've got so because I think I originally found your channel through a fellow YouTuber who you subscribe to and who I subscribe to, and that's Vinny G, or Vince. So do you live far from Vince? Because I you know, can't remember where he lives now in Australia.
Yeah, no, that's all right. Pardon me. Yeah, you're right. Vinny does live in the same state as me, but our states are huge, to say the least. He lives in Brisbane, which is our capital city in the state of Queensland, which is around about 12 to 1400 kilometres south of here. So it's a good 14-hour, 15-hour drive to get to Brisbane. So I don't think, unless he comes up here or I go down there for a holiday, that we'll ever actually collaborate and do one together, which would be awesome, of course.
Yeah, it would be, you know, to meet up, because I mean that's something I'm enjoying, meeting up with fellow YouTubers, because I've met up with Simon of Wild Presentations, I've met up with Pixie's channel, Chris, you know, I'm going to try as the year goes on to meet up with quite a few other YouTubers, and it's like doing the one-to-ones. Trying to arrange one-to-ones with people is very hard because of the time difference, you know. I mean, such as yourself, getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, I really do appreciate that, you know. Well, it is, you know, I mean, I've disturbed your night's sleep, you know, and everything.
Oh, well, I was just honoured to be asked to do a one-on-one, and I generally wake up fairly early in the morning anyway. So, and as I said earlier, I don't start work till this afternoon. So I'll probably go back for a little grandpa nap this morning after this.
Yeah, I tend to do those in the afternoon. So, and another one that I found interesting in your videos was your kite boarding or kite surfing, because with living on the coast myself in Eaglevp, we get a lot of windsurfers out at Eaglevp, so it's very similar, I believe, isn't it? You know, kiteboarding to windsurfing.
Well, it's similar in a lot of ways. I mean, the weather definitely has to be pretty much the same. Kite surfing is, you know, obviously, as the name implies, for anyone who hasn't seen it, well, I guess most people have, involves this massive kite that you basically drags you across the water on a small board, kind of like a wakeboard that water skiers use, towed behind the boat. Yeah, when I talk about the different things that I've done, it's kind of it's interesting that I've done so many different things. Yeah, I did that for quite a while. Oh, quite a while, probably 3 or 4 years, I suppose. I just saw people doing it in our local area. We had a national championship here a couple of years ago, I think it was. But yeah, it's a great hobby to get you out in the water instead of, as you and I both know, we spend an awful lot of time in our room in front of the computer.
Yeah, yeah, but you're far more energetic than me.
Well, I don't know. Not these days. I think in the last few years, I've tended to become a little more sedentary. But yeah, I did that. I went for, I don't know if there's the video you're talking about, the one where I went on the holiday to.
Yes.
Yeah, that was interesting. I kind of given up windsurfing and kite surfing, sorry, and I'd sold my kiteboard. Like all of these hobbies, like they last about 3 or 4 years, and then I move on. Anyway, my wife had, again, a bit of a long-winded story, but I won't. I guess it's interesting. My wife met somebody at the gym, a lady at the gym, and this lady was in Townsville for a kind of a holiday, and she was partnered up with this man who was very keen on kite surfing, and he actually had arranged this camping, kind of a camping site north of Cairns, about 6 hours drive north of where we are, in this location up on near the Daintree River, which is kind of well known in Australia for its beautiful rainforests and such. And he's on Aboriginal land and had to get permission from the elders to set up this camp at a location where kite surfing it's just ideal. The wind blows almost all year round. The waters are very shallow, which means you can go for a long kite surf without actually having to get out of your depth too much. And if the worst comes to the worst, it's probably still only as deep as your shoulders, and you can walk back into shore. And anyway, yeah, so he set up this camp. It was basically tents to start with, and then he decided he was going to upgrade from tents to he got water tanks, fiberglass water tanks, and had them shipped up one at a time, and cut a door and windows in them and fitted them out with beds and such. And yeah, so now I think he's got about 6 or 8 of those up there, and people go up for a week at a time, sometimes longer, and he teaches beginners and assists with professionals as well, and only during the season, because it gets a little bit too dangerous in the summertime up there. Keith, I don't know if you heard of the stingers and the crocodiles that we have, mate. Yeah. They don't make for. Yeah, we have a bit of a challenge up in our way in terms of the deadly creatures we have. You don't have many deadly creatures over there, do you?
No, that's why I like living in the UK. The only thing we've really got is the midges up in Scotland in the time of year. So, yeah. No deadly spiders, no deadly snakes. So, yeah, really clean. No hungry lions or wolves or anything like that, are we?
Yeah, we do have our challenges, but and they've seen crocodiles up there where I was kite surfing as well. But because it's quite shallow, they tend and crocs tend to stick to the creeks. Yeah. They generally, if they go from one creek to the other, that's the only time they kind of go out in open water, swim out into the deep, and then along parallel with the coast and into the next one. There were very little chance of seeing a croc, though. That's good, and I didn't see one. Hallelujah.
Yeah, I'm really pleased on that then.
We also have stingers, which are jellyfish that come out in the summertime, and they can kill you. So they've killed people before. It's certainly put a lot of people in hospital. So yeah, during that period of time, this guy doesn't even run kite surfing. But yeah, so we went up there when they weren't around and had a fantastic time. So there's another video that I hope anyone watching this one goes and finds in my channel.
Yeah. Well, that's how I found it, and I thought it was a fantastic. Yeah, you did a fantastic job on that. Did you use the GoPro on that? I can't remember now.
Yeah, I used the drone. Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure whether I'd get it up because, as I said, it blows most of the time. But I did take that. That was when I had my first drone, which was a Phantom 1 when they first came out, DJI Phantom 1. And and there was a GoPro on that because they didn't, believe it or not, folks, they didn't used to come with a camera and a gimbal on them.
Yes, I know they didn't. So that's the next question, which leads nicely into that. How long have you been a drone flyer?
Well, I started with my Phantom 1 probably maybe 3 years ago, I think, when they first came out, something like that. And yeah, I just got I've been into RC planes and stuff. I had an interest in them since I was knee high, basically, and never really flew much until maybe 6, 7 years ago. And I was saw a pardon me, I saw somebody driving past a hobby club, and there were people flying planes. So I got into that, and got somebody to teach me, and I flew planes for a couple of years. And then quite by accident, I was flicking through some junk mail and saw an ad for a remote controlled helicopter. And so that was only a toy grade one. Bought that and was playing around with that. And that kind of just led me to follow things on YouTube until a point where I came across drone videos, and wow, putting photography and droning together, I love it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Is this hobby going to last? That's the main question.
Yes, Keith. Yes. It's definitely going.
Yeah, as long as we can keep on flying, you know. And I mean, you've got a lot bigger area where you can fly than we can in the UK, you know, because as I've said before to you, that there's a lot of places, you know, because I always try to do things legally, and I always ask, but the answer I always get is no. So now I'm getting away from asking, and as long as it's safe to fly, and then I will go up and fly, because, you know, I can't get the shots that I want. And
Yeah.
You know, I'm only an hobbyist, really, and basically that's, you know, I want to create good films that people will watch. I mean, that's what I strive to do, like all of us on YouTube who are creators. We try to produce content that people will watch, because, you know, I mean, you've got more subscribers than me, but I bet you've only got a core of, say, 40 or 50 subscribers who leave comments on your channel.
Exactly right. Exactly right. A lot of subscribers, but not a lot of active subscribers. Yeah. So yeah, and it is very frustrating trying to find places to fly. I guess probably it sounds like what happens in your area is that most of the land is privately owned.
Yeah.
And yeah, whereas with ours, a lot of the area is just bush, and it's just owned by the government. And so as long as you aren't flying over anywhere that's, like you said, doing it legally, that's the main thing. I definitely am lucky in that regards, although, as you may have seen just recently, I'm starting having to go further afield to find interesting footage. So I'm having to travel more to get, because there's a lot of boring bush that all looks the same, and there's no water features or anything like that. And so, yeah, you want something that the viewers will watch, as you said.
Yeah, you know, that's why I look for historical places to film, to go flying, where I can get the ground shots, I can get the information, get the aerial shots, and make it into a watchable video, you know. And I am learning now to do a bit of vlogging on my videos, because I think that makes it a bit more interesting, because if you start the video by telling people where you are or where you're going to fly, and then, you know, it all helps to really create something that people will watch.
Exactly, yeah. And it's like, you know, as you and I are talking, because we've kind of built up a relationship on YouTube, and at the end of the day, it really is about relationship building. And so if you can put your head on those videos, you know, people see that you're a real person and not just, you know, not just some pretty footage. Definitely helps people want to come back and see what you're doing again. I agree with you, and I don't do that on as many of mine as I should. So maybe I'll have to take your lead and add myself a bit more. I do on some.
Yeah, you have improved a lot, you know, because I mean, especially your tutorial videos now, and I enjoyed that one where you replaced the motor, because these are useless. I'm all right with it all up here and doing these ones, but you know, that would scare the hell out of me, because, you know, I don't think I'd have the skills. Although after watching you, it seems simple, The only thing I would say about that one is you didn't show us how you got the top off.
Ah, yes, good point. And I really should have, because that is actually it's not the easiest of things to do. But I didn't actually think that I was going to make a video until after I'd got the top off. So,
well, if you can make one, you know, how you got the top off, because I know it's very difficult, because there's you can easily break those clasps or whatever is on them, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and the first time I had to take the top off one of mine was, I went to YouTube, and that's what I did. I basically just Googled as many as I could find to try and figure out how I was going to do it effectively without breaking anything. It's a big investment buying those drones. You don't want to be breaking anything you don't have to. So, okay, that's another video I'm going to do.
Yeah, because I have watched all the videos, but you know, I mean, looking at them, and I think to myself, no, I'm not going to attempt it. I'd rather send it to an RC model shop or to DJI or whatever, because I'd smash the thing altogether. You know, it's like
all fingers and thumbs, eh?
Because when I first left school, I was an apprentice diesel fitter, and I did that from 16 to nearly 19. But because I was good at college, I could do the academic side, but I hated getting my hands dirty.
Well, that's not very good for a diesel fitter.
No. So I got out and started my own fish round business, because my uncle had started one, and he worked 3 days a week, and he was earning back then about £1,000 for 3 days' work. So,
nice.
So that's what I did. You know, we're coming from Grimsby area, which was the largest fishing port in Europe at one time. I thought, I'll get myself a van, kit it out, and I went down to Banbury in Oxfordshire and Cheshunt near London, and started around there. And in the end, I built up 5 rounds for 5 friends. And when I wanted to build my round up, I couldn't build up anywhere, because I'd built up all round, and you know, there was nowhere to go. So I got out and started my own video filming business, doing weddings, commercial jobs, christenings, kids' parties, life story videos. And that's why I got into interviewing people, because there's nothing better than doing a life story on somebody in the 70s, 80s, who have lived all that time. And whenever anything happens to people in that age group, nobody knows anything. All their knowledge, what they've learned throughout their lifetime, is gone. You know, I mean, it's like my mum and dad. My mum died at 62, my dad died at 69. I got left a suitcase full of photographs. And I looked through them and I thought, I don't know any of these. I don't know anybody. I didn't even recognise my mum when she was 18. You know,
wow.
Because all I remember is being a middle-aged lady.
Of course.
But when I saw those, and I thought, well, who is it? Who is it? And I didn't know. And before my dad died, and he'd give me him, I said, who is that? And he says, oh, that was your mum at 18. And I thought, wow, I could understand now why he married her.
Yeah, we all change a bit as we get older, but a lot of elderly ladies have no idea that they were stunners in their day.
Well, you look back at your wedding photographs and you think, is that the woman who I married? and fellas, because I mean, we change as well, you know. I mean, I remember the day when I was only 10 stone 2 when I got married. And
well, now, you know, I'm sure you're better looking now than you were then, Keith.
Inside, yes, maybe. Not on the outside, don't Anyway, let's get back to
off the track again.
Just having a look, because I've got quite a lot. Oh yeah, the video I enjoyed most was when you talked about your 10 dodgy jobs, and you started off your working life in a retail shop. I believe.
Wow. Yes, you're right.
In that, you had milk crates or something to lift, which were heavy at the time, and you damaged your back, which you still suffer with. So just shows you the research I do.
Wow, I don't even remember ever having talked about that on a video. My goodness.
It was called Your Dodgy Jobs. And then,
wow.
as a 17-year-old, you worked in a pizza shop, but it wasn't Papa John's or Domino Pizzas or any of the well-known ones. So
yeah, my goodness.
You've had some very interesting jobs.
Tell you what, you've done your research.
Courier driving.
Yep.
And then you worked in a call centre. And this is the one I want to hear more about. Something about the ladies of the night.
Ooh, yeah. Oh, I don't know whether I should tell you about that.
So could you tell us a bit more about those ladies of the night that you mentioned on your video? I know a bit about it because I did watch all the video, but
yeah, good on you. Well, it's not quite as juicy as it probably seems at first, but yeah, basically. I did work in a call center for our local newspaper, and that in the classified section. So basically people were ringing up and placing classified ads for selling their cars or selling their houses or whatever it was. And of course that includes in a lot of papers. I'm assuming that's the same over there. There's a section for adult services and therefore the ladies of the night, and they would ring up, and a lot of them were very difficult to deal with because they had strong accents. So a lot of Asian ladies particularly, and they would try and get me to put things into the paper that I wasn't allowed to put in. Without going into too much detail. But there were a lot of arguments with these ladies about things that they wanted to say that I wasn't allowed to say, and so naturally that meant they were quite explicit and graphic in their discussion, which and I don't embarrass easily, but even I was embarrassed on a couple of occasions. And yeah, but there were all sorts. There were transgender people as well. So you had somebody saying, "Hi, I'm Sally," except they were going, "Hi, I'm Sally," which was very, very interesting. And then there were those who were really lovely and really sweet, nice. On the phone anyway. I never actually got to see them face to face, but yeah, and you sort of build up a relationship with these people only in as much as they would call every week, and so some of them would even ask to speak with you directly rather than another call center operator, just because they they liked talking to you last time. And I even got one, I'm not sure whether I said this on the video or not, I even got one of the ladies of the night placing an ad on Christmas Eve, and she was going to be in my town, which is not her hometown, on Christmas Day, and invited me to come down and have a drink, or just to be with her, so she had somebody to be with on Christmas Day. I didn't do that. I had other plans, and so did my wife.
Don't blame you. Don't blame you. That was really interesting.
Yeah.
Another one now that I enjoyed that you talked about on this dodgy jobs was your mental health job. So, yeah. Because that's a topic that I enjoy, talking about, because there's a lot of mental problems in the world nowadays, especially with the young, with the pressure of life. Because my son works at the mental hospital here in Grimsby. So, that's why it interested me when I heard you mention that you worked in mental health. So, as I said before, you have had a variety of jobs. I mean, you're a bit like me in a lot of ways, Matt, because if I told you how many jobs I've had.
Yeah, well, it's...
Before I went into business, basically, you know, because I mean, I started as a footballer, apprentice professional footballer with Middlesbrough, and then I came back and did me 3 years as an apprentice. And then I worked as a bus conductor for a couple of weeks. I worked in a paper mill. I worked as an ice cream salesman, and then, you know, a few years after that, that's when I got into doing the fish. And then after the fish, it was the video business. So
okay.
yeah, you know, so back onto the
yeah. What was the longest one, Keith? Was your video photography business? That was
the video, yeah, because I only used to work 6 months a year, you know. So I mean, you know, I used to do a wedding Saturday and Sunday most weekends during the season from May to September, and then of course after you've done those, you've got 40 or 50 hours of sat round editing them. And in those days, when I was in business doing the weddings, it used to be 2 SVHS recorders with a shuttle going back. Used to take me hours and hours and hours. Whereas with it all being computer based, sure, it must be it must be easy now doing weddings with it all being computer based.
Yeah, life's certainly changed since those days. I don't envy you having to do that reel-to-reel stuff. I'm never experienced that, but I've seen people do it, and yeah, it does not look easy. So well done, you.
It won't. It's the same as my hobby's always been in the past was video sponding. I used to have a sugarcane farmer who I used to send a 3-hour VHS tape every 3 months, who lived in Bundaberg, Australia. So
that's very close to me. It's at least 5 hours away, maybe 6 hours away.
Yeah. And I did video sponding with him for about 10 years. Yeah, his family had 2 great big farms, sugarcane farms up there. Ever so interested. And I see his family grow from being babies. I think the last video was about, there must have been about 13 or 14. I mean, it's going back some years, and then all of a sudden he stopped sending me videos and I lost contact with him.
Oh, that's a shame. Yeah, it'd be interesting to get back in touch with him again.
Yeah, I just wish I had his address, you know, because I used to correspond on video with him. Somebody in El Paso in Texas, someone in New York State, somebody in Northampton, one in Oxford, one in Scotland, in Edinburgh. And it was a good hobby at that time because it used to get you out making videos, showing people where you went, and they did the same. You know, you've got a tape, so you've got to tape for 3 hours watching through what they'd been up to for the last 3 months. You know, and then YouTube came out and Skype came out, and, you know, I talked to a lot of people on Skype as well.
Wow. Well, you've have a very interesting history of doing those sorts of things. That's no wonder that you like doing these one-on-ones, and that's great.
Yeah, I'd do one every night if I could get people away to do them, because that's the hardest part. Is people go, yes, I'll do one with you, and arrange it, because people live so busy lives nowadays. It's very hard to tie people down to a time. You know, like you are, I'd get up at 4 or 5 in the morning to do one. I'd do at 2 or 3 in the morning, whenever it's convenient for people, because that way we're getting to know each other, and the people who do join in also get to know you and get to know you.
I think it's fantastic. It's a fantastic idea, and yeah, I'm the same, exactly the same. You know, as you say, I got up at 5 to be with you at 5 today, but I have no trouble. I think because we live in such different types of, you know, like you said, somebody in Bundaberg, and then somebody in the people in the States. Even there are people in the States who, the United States is so different in itself. You know, people on the East Coast, the West Coast, or down on the Gulf, and you know, up in the coal country. It's just, they all lead different lives, and very different to yours and mine. and yeah, everybody's life is different, and you know that's, I mean, hence why people use the term people watching when they go out, because people are just interesting, aren't they?
Yeah. Oh, that's one of my favourite hobbies: sitting on the seafront watching people go by.
Yeah, just trying to imagine their stories and
yeah, and it's relaxing. Another place I often go when I want to relax is walking through churchyards, because I find that very relaxing. Because like if you go to places like Preston, Bolton, the mill towns of England, the former mill towns, you see that in those cemeteries, people died young. If you managed to get above 12, then you used to live till about 40 or 50 years of age. But you go in those churchyards and there's a lot of young children who have passed away in those.
Oh, it's so very sad. But yeah, I guess they did, either it was it to do with the like the work fact that they were working class, or poor, you know, poor people.
Yeah, it was working class. You know, there were mill workers and you know, the former mill towns and everything like that. And you know, it's surprising when you go and you look and you think to yourself, we're very fortunate in the period that we've lived, because medicine's come on leaps and bounds. Because I had a friend many years ago who, well, I think we was about 14, 15. We'd been out to the local dance club, and he came home. We got back to his, and he says, "Oh, I'm just going to have a cup of tea." Sat in the chair, and he fell asleep and never woke up.
Oh wow!
And when they did the autopsy, they found out he'd had a heart defect. So nowadays, they might have found that out prior to what happened to him.
Yeah. Although that's we all have to go sometime, and that's quite a nice way to go compared to ending up in a hospital fighting some disease, or even being in an old people's home suffering from dementia or something. So yeah, but it definitely has come in leaps and bounds. Although one thing that you actually said then sort of just made me think of like, yes, we are extremely lucky. I agree with you on that. Compared to some, but only in our area, only in the first world countries, of course. You know, you look at some of those, there are still people who have a high infant mortality rate in a lot of the other places. So we're blessed to live where we are, aren't we, Keith?
Yeah. Because I mean, we've got relative freedom in the Western world where we live. Because I mean, I'd hate to live in states like North Korea or you know, various other places, Syria, you know, West Africa, those countries, because you know, when you look how the people live on less than $1 a day. You know,
I can't get my head around that. I just cannot fathom how that's even possible. Those poor people.
But yeah, and you look how much we who live in the Western world, prosperous countries such as Australia, America, the UK, how much we waste as human beings.
Oh, yeah, isn't that the truth? We just, you know, we kind of like, we disrespect what we have really in how much we waste, and like by way of water and fuel and food that we throw out. It's just insane. I agree with you there. Sometimes you want to just pack up any extra food you've got left over and ship it off if it was entirely possible to, you know, Ethiopia or somewhere where there's starving children. If only we could do that. It's just crazy when you see water running down the street, and I don't know what it's like where in Eaglevp area in terms of whether you lack. I guess you don't experience drought there ever. You just experience flooding and rain, too much water.
We've got. Never had a drought here in Eaglevp, and the last flood we had was about 1953, I think it was. You know.
Oh so, wow!
So it's not bad on the East Coast, really. You know, can't complain. We get a lot of North Sea winds, but you know, it's not bad.
Yeah. Well, I know it's we suffer here with a lot of lack of water, and you probably saw that last video I put up about the drought in one of my local areas. we've got dry, really dry town at the moment. Our lawns are basically brown and crispy to walk on because we haven't seen rain for quite so long. And yet there are still people, you were talking about wasting things. We're still people who are washing their cars with hoses when it's illegal to do so. There are still people who are putting on lawn sprinklers and letting the water run down the gutters, even though it's illegal to do so. And this actually leads me, it's a very nice segue into a little story that happened just yesterday. I was contacted by a group here in Townsville who are pushing to try and get funding from the government to get extra water in our town, and they saw my video, that drought video that I just put up this week, and they contacted me and said, would I be willing to support their organisation and do some drone flying for them to provide footage to send to our governments, to our state and federal members, so that they can see just how suffering we are, and maybe provide some funding to. We basically exist on a pipeline from our local dam to supply the whole of our city, and we have a local dam as well, which is only down less than 20% of water. And so my droning is actually, maybe I'll be able to help our whole community by providing footage that will encourage the governments to consider spending more to get a second pipeline and get more water to us.
Yeah. Oh, that'll be very interesting. I'll look forward to how that develops then.
Yeah, I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, oh, great, Mark. So anyway, let's get back to the interview.
Yeah.
Mental health then. How long was you a mental health worker?
Okay, well, basically, I was there for about 3 years. What the job was a government-funded job, or government-funded business, basically, NGO they call it, which was for helping people to get employments that had mental health conditions. So our local the call centre, the dole office, if you will, would identify people who had diagnosed mental health conditions and recommend that they come over to our service, and that we would assist them not only with just general counselling and support, but also to try and find them work if at all possible. Very difficult, as you could imagine, people with post-traumatic stress disorder. We have a large army town. We are a large army town here, a big barracks. So there are a lot of returned soldiers from overseas who suffer from post-traumatic stress. And of course, all the regular mental health conditions that you see, like depression and bipolar, anxiety. Very difficult to find some of those people work because of the conditions that they suffer from. So we'd have weekly meetings with them, discuss how their week had been, what steps they were going to try and do in order to just get their life back on track to some degree. And then, of course, to support them in the arduous task of looking for work, which isn't easy for somebody with a stable mental health, having to write resumes, go to interviews and that kind of thing. Yeah. A lot of people, we'd have to actually go sit in with them just because we developed a relationship and it made them feel comfortable to have somebody in the room if they were doing an interview. And we'd actually advocate on their behalf, going and contacting businesses that could possibly supply maybe unskilled work generally, and try and encourage them to look at maybe taking on some of our clients and explaining what they do. A lot of people with drug problems too, of course, like in every country. And we've got I remember one gentleman in particular who had been a heavy user of marijuana, and it caused him a lot of anxiety, as it does, and he just couldn't stop, and went into a job interview and was told he'd be drug tested in 3 months, and if he could get off the drugs in those 3 months, that's fantastic. He'd have a permanent job there. 3 months later, they gave him a drug test and he couldn't pass. He just couldn't kick the habit. And yeah, he said he needed it for his anxiety, but it was actually that stuff that actually caused his anxiety in the first place. So vicious circle.
Yeah, it is, yeah. So another one of your jobs, which I don't think you particularly enjoyed doing, and that was that traveling salesman selling software.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, obviously that came through in the videos and it wasn't my most favourite job.
No. So how long did that last for then, Mark?
Well, I did that one for, I think it might have been, I think it was 18 months, 2 years, something like that, basically. Yeah, what it was, Keith, was a company that produced software that children could use as kind of like extra work they can do at home to help with their schooling. Yeah. So it was a series of massive bank of videos on CD to cover the whole curriculum in maths and English predominantly. And my job was to actually contact school principals, show right across my state and interstate. So I did a lot of traveling for that. Try and encourage the principals to send out a letter to their school community saying that they'd seen this software and that they were going to be given some free, we were going to give them some, the school, a free copy, and that if any parents thought they might like to look at the software for their own purposes, they could send the letters back into the school, and then I would go back to the school a week later, pick up the letters, and then we would send our salesmen who go out to the families to actually try and sell them product.
Oh, so anyway, it's one of the jobs you didn't like then. So
no, definitely not, and it wasn't very. I felt like I was kind of cheating in as much as I was shoving stuff down the people's throats that they didn't really want, and I didn't really believe in the product either. So, but you know, you've got to do jobs sometimes that you don't like just to bring in the dollars.
Yeah. So the other one that I enjoyed listening to you talking about was rock climbing, because that's another hobby that you seem to have got in. And that reminds me, I did watch the video also of your, what do they call it, where you jump out of a plane.
Paragliding. Paragliding,
yes. Now, that is something that I would love to do. That must have been an experience.
Yeah, yeah, that was over in New Zealand. I'll come back to the rock climbing shortly, but yeah, my wife and I went for a holiday to Queenstown a couple of years ago in New Zealand, and for anyone who's been to Queenstown, sorry, not Queensland, that's my state, Queenstown in New Zealand, will know that it's basically one of the adventure capitals of the whole Pacific region, if not of the world, and you can do stuff like bungee jumping and all that. And my wife and I did this paragliding experience where you go up to the top of a mountain. They had what do they call, cable car things, like cable ski, and then so you get up the top there, strap yourself onto a professional person who's got this one of these parachute wing things behind them, and then you run towards the cliff, strapped onto the front of this other fella, and the parachute comes up behind you, and then basically you just go off the edge of the cliff. And
right. So have you done ballooning then? Have you been up in a balloon?
No, I haven't actually. It's one thing I'd like to do. Have you?
No, that's another one on the bucket list that I'd like to do, you know. Definitely.
I haven't really had a great hankering to do that, only because while I'm sure the view is fantastic, because we know that from our drone footage, yeah. But it just doesn't quite fill me with the same sense of adrenaline that I like to experience, because I think it's a bit too safe.
Yeah, that's why, you know, when I saw you enjoy rock climbing, I thought, yeah, you are a junkie, aren't you? For
That's right. Just because I'm in my mid-50s doesn't mean I've slowed down in that regard. I did do rock climbing for a few years with my wife. We've got a fantastic.
Your wife's into it as well, then. Wow,
well, yeah, we both did it for a while, which was a great thing. You know, something to do with the other half. And yeah, we went and got some training. There's a local group here, and we got all the professional ropes and harnesses and whatever. And yeah, we climbed for a little while. Didn't really get that good at it, and basically we just found we didn't find the time to go and drive to interesting places to climb. But yeah, it certainly gets the old blood going, especially if you're halfway up a cliff and you lose your grip.
Yeah.
And you know, you go swinging and you're relying on that rope to save your life. So
yeah, but you have climbed Ayers Rock, haven't you?
Yeah, we climbed Ayers Rock. That doesn't actually require rock climbing gear, thank goodness.
Oh, I don't know, you know. So you walk.
Yeah, yeah, I have. Well, I keep getting more and more impressed by this research you've done, Keith.
Yeah, I really go, you know, because the wife says to me, "Oh, you're getting to know a lot about him, aren't you?" You know, and I says, "Yeah," because it's surprising that some like Talk Sheffield United, who Toby, the 15-year-old who I interviewed last week, Saturday.
Yeah, I watched that.
Yeah, you go on his channel and there's no information at all, and I found that very, very difficult, because the only thing I could talk to him about really was football, because you know that's what his channel is all about. And then his other channel's about gaming. Well, I'm not a gamer, and he didn't say much about himself, so that's why I had to draw him out to find out a little bit more about him. But that was a very hard interview, but I thoroughly enjoyed it at the end. I mean, it's like Thursdays. I've got one on Thursday night at 10 o'clock with Bossman's channel. He's a young man from down in Kent, and I've been doing a bit of research on his channel as well, and I ain't found out a lot, you know, so I've been listening to his 60-second vlogs, but he don't say a lot about himself. And and when you get somebody like that, it's very, very hard to you know, get the questions to ask. So generally it's a chat then to find out about him. Whereas, you know, like Vinny, he was a great one. I did a lot of research on his channel. And when I did the one-to-one with Vinny, he only had about 500 subscribers. Now he's overtaken me. He's up to 970, I think. You know, and I look at it and I think to myself, wow, his channel has really grown like yours has. You know, I mean, it has my channel, you know. I mean, I look back at the start of this year, I only had 372 subscribers. And I've been a YouTube member since 2007. But I'd never worked on my YouTube channel. And it's only this year that I set a goal. I thought, I'm going to set a goal. I want 500 subscribers by Christmas, December. I've gone over that. Now I'm hoping I can get 1,000 subscribers by December.
I'll certainly encourage people to go watch your channel, and that's actually the same goal that I've got, Keith. Is 1,000 by Christmas. So, and as you just said, something really important, and I think every YouTuber needs to realise this, is that you don't get your subscribers and you don't get your views unless you work at it.
Yeah,
basically requires work, doesn't it?
It's really, it's a full-time job. If you're creating stuff to put on YouTube, if you don't enjoy it, your subscribers aren't going to enjoy it. So you've got to make it enjoyable. The only thing about this, the live streams, it's getting your subscribers involved. They're getting to know you through the live streams. They're getting to know me through my live streams. And the people who I've interviewed, you know, I've found very, very interesting, you know. And I mean, we had one on tonight. I don't know whether he's still on. Young Owen. He's a 13, 14-year-old lad who's into droning, Owen Williams. So he got back to me because I reviewed his channel on my review show, on Monday's review show, and he's got back and says, can I come on to the one-to-one? So I've arranged a one-to-one with him next Tuesday night.
Oh, great. So, well, good luck. I hope there's you've got plenty to ask him, because a 13-year-old hasn't had a lot of life experience yet.
No, but they're still interesting, aren't they? You know, because you know, it's like Toby. He's a staunch Labour, you know, follower. Jeremy Corbyn, he likes him. So, yeah, you know, all right, it's very hard to interview a young person because, as you say, they haven't got the life's experience. But I still find it interesting.
Oh, yeah, me too. And every 13-year-old, every 13, 14, 15-year-old has led a different life as well, just as we have. Yeah.
It's just that they haven't got the experience of life, have they? Exactly right. It's still watching, Owen. So we do appreciate that, Owen.
Hi, Owen. Nice to meet you.
I don't know whether you've subbed to him yet. I don't know whether you've seen his channel that I put on.
No, but I will certainly do that now that you've mentioned him, for sure. You asked me about Ayers Rock before, Keith. I just wanted to touch base on that, because I know viewers from around the world know where Ayers Rock, or know of Ayers Rock at least, that massive great lump of boulder in the middle of Australia. It's we climbed, my wife and I climbed that many years ago when you were allowed to climb it, and I guess that's what I really wanted to mention, is that we're not allowed to climb Ayers Rock anymore. It's unfortunate. Well, it's unfortunate for those of us who went and versus those of us who didn't, but with respect to our local people, our local Indigenous community, the rock was handed back to its traditional owners, and that's they now manage the rock, and so you're allowed to drive around it and photograph it and what have you, but you're not allowed to actually go on top of it anymore. So that's fair enough. Out of respect, it's part of their culture and part of their traditions, and they have stories and a Dreamtime culture surrounding the rock, which is fair enough. Back in the day, they actually used to have a chain, like steel spikes driven into the rock all the way up to the top with a chain attached, and you could kind of like just pull yourself up to the top, where the view was absolutely magnificent. So, but now you just got to enjoy it from slightly further away.
Oh, what a shame. But yeah, I fully agree. You know, I agree. It's their sacred place. So yeah, but you know, what an experience to do it. You know,
yeah.
And I hope you saw the sunset or the sunrise from Ayers Rock, because I believe,
well, not from on top, but as you said, one of the great things to do in Australia is to actually watch the sunrise or the sunset. Standing back from the rock and watch the colours change. That's what it's known for. For some reason, the colour on the rock changes absolutely dramatically. And yes, we were up at sunrise as part of the tour group we were on, and sat back and watched it in awe. And that's something that you can still do now. So if you come to Australia, get yourself out into the Northern Territory where Ayers Rock is and go have a look. You won't be disappointed.
Yeah, he said that. Yeah, I'd love to visit Australia, but I've got no relatives over there. I've only got well, like yourself as a friend, and I've got Vinny as a friend now, you know. So, yeah, maybe I might get out there. But the problem is it's the insurance now for when I travel worldwide, because, I mean, it's like going to the States. If I want to fly to the States now with a wife, it's I can get a cheap flight, but her insurance is about £2,500. So medical cost, and I would have thought coming to Australia, insurance would be quite high.
Yeah, you can't. You've obviously that's probably the most limiting factor is the dollars. Not to mention the fact that there's you know, if you've got medical concerns, you've got to make sure you cover that. Well, even people without. I mean, I was born in Bournemouth in the UK, and all my relatives are over there, even though I emigrated over here with my family when I was 12. But none of those relatives have actually come out to Australia in all the time that I've been here, the 40, 50, oh, I don't even want to count, a long time. Yeah. But yes, it's just because of, I guess, because of the sheer the cost involved and the distances involved. And yeah, and it's pretty scary to be traveling to the other side of the world if you've never done it before too.
Yeah. I've been to China, but you know, I've never been to Australia. You know, so.
But China must be great.
Yeah, oh, it is. Yeah. I went on the Great Wall, saw the Terracotta Army, and absolutely brilliant, lovely. You know, and the culture there is brilliant. My grandson's been out to Australia. He comes out nearly every January for 3 weeks because he's a professional poker player. And I think it was 3 years ago he won $1 million on the Aussies Millions, and he came second the year after in the Aussies Millions.
Wow. He must be a pretty good poker player.
He is, because he came, what was it, 3-4 years ago, he came second in the big drop in Las Vegas. And it was the biggest prize money game that's ever been recorded. The winner won, Estefan won 18 something million dollars, and Sam won $10 million.
Unbelievable. That's I guess you don't hear about all the losses that they have to take as well, but
no. But he's number. I think he was 5th in the world in tournament play winnings.
Yeah, that's amazing, unbelievable. Well, good on him. That and I guess that's, if you're going to have to travel around the world for your job, that's certainly one way to do it.
I'll tell you what, I'd love to interview him, but he won't give me an interview. Terrible. He's never got time. He's never there.
Surely he can talk to you between hands or something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I wish. So just a few more now, because I think one of the longest periods you've worked doing anything really, Matt, and I'm not being bad, any bad things, was
that's okay.
10 years as self-employed as a potter.
Yes.
Now, to work with your hands like that, I really do think that it must be great to create something that people buy. It
was one of the great joys of my life and experiences of my life, was to be able to do that. That was straight after teaching. Basically, I was looking to get out of teaching, as I'd said earlier, and I knew about pottery mainly because my mother was a full-time potter as well. Back in the 70s, pottery was a lot bigger than it is now. A lot more people were into it. A lot more people were buying it. And she did some fantastic work. So, and as an aside, I posted a photo the other day, you may have seen. I walked into an op shop the other day, and my mother has passed. I found some pottery of hers in an op shop, which I was just blown away at, and of course I bought. So that was a great experience. But yes, getting back to the story, I left. I basically, in the last couple of years of teaching, I just practiced my skill of pottery in my spare time, and then at the end of 10 years, I used my super payout to build a large studio shed on the acreage we were living on at the time, and set myself up with a large kiln and a pottery wheel, and started producing domestic ware pottery. So that's it. It really is a fantastic experience to have. And anyone who's ever tried to make anything in clay will know that it can be a bit challenging, even if it's like handmade stuff. And the wheel, of course, is even harder to master. But yeah, it's very, very satisfying. So it got to a point where you kind of don't have to think. It's kind of like riding a bike or driving a car. You don't think about it. You just do it. So fantastic. I was making, coffee mugs and casserole dishes and teapots and plates and bowls and everything you can think of, all kind of obscure things as well, incense burners and lanterns and the whole range of stuff. And I'm a bit jealous of you, Keith, and your where you guys are, because you have some fantastic potters over there and people with a long history. You have families and generations of potters, and we don't have any of that history here. So I did that for 10 years. Absolutely loved it, and I wish I could come and visit some of the potters over there.
Yeah. So have you still got your Potter's World, or do you still do it as a hobby?
No, it's one of those things that when I decided that I needed to get a full-time job because the realities of earning money were biting, I was at a point where you either you get to a certain skill level and you're producing so much work that it becomes more like a job than a creative passion. And then, so once I had to go and get a full-time job, I just thought, I can't just go back to doing this as a part-time passion. I've either got to do it or not do it. And so I've sold my wheel, sold my kiln, sold everything, and we've moved a couple of times since then. So I did go back. You may have seeing you've done all this fantastic research. I did go back last year, I think it was, or maybe the year before, to our local Potters Association just to see if I could still do it. And yes, I still can. Yay. So like riding a bike, I don't think you're ever going to forget. So I just made a few things and filmed them just so people could see the sort of things that I did. But yeah, I didn't even get those pieces fired. I just made them and let them dry, and I think I ended up tossing them actually, which is a bit sad.
But yeah, oh, what a shame, because I mean, to create things like that, I respect anybody who does that. So, well, I'll ask you now then, what type of work are you doing at present then?
Well, I'm kind of gone back to, it's kind of a step back in as much as I mentioned the call centre work at the Bulletin, and I'm in a call centre again now. This time working for our local telco for a phone company. Yeah. Basically, our whole country are moving from a copper phone service to optic fibre phone service, and we're in transition at the moment, and there's a lot of debate over here about the difficulties of that and a lot of problems with people losing their phones and what have you. And yeah, I'm one of a team of people who based in our town who look after the whole country. We're the main site in the whole country, and people ring us and say my phone's not working, so we have to do the testing on the line, find out where the problems are and which technician we're going to send out, and follow up, make sure the technician's done the job, all those sorts of things, and deal with all of the complaints that are associated with that. People wanting compensation, businesses who are losing their internet. Yeah. Can be a real challenge, but as you've seen, I'm up for a challenge.
Yeah. So at what age do you get your pension in Australia?
At the moment for guys, I believe it's 67.5. And for ladies it's 65, but I'm told that every year from now on, for every year that goes on, there'll be a 6 months added to the retirement age.
Cool. So what age will you be able to retire at?
Oh, well, I don't know whether I ever will be. Because I'm 57, turn 57 in August, so I don't know. I'd say I'll probably be at least 70 before I can retire. Yeah. I'm jealous of you. I'd love to be able to retire now, but it's not financially possible. So my wife still teaches, and obviously I'd love to be able to say to her, well, why don't you pull the pin? But you do what you have to do.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, retiring isn't made out, if I had my way, I'd do a part-time job if I could get one, but at my age, 67, people don't want to know you.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess I've heard a lot of people say that when you're retired, you know, you need to plan, have something to do, otherwise it can be really a real challenge.
Yeah, well, that's why I've got this hobby, you know, because I mean, filming, YouTube, going out, creating something that people will watch, that gives me something to do. Otherwise, my day would be get up, eat, go to bed. It would be boring. And TV to me is boring. That's why I watch a lot of, you know, I'm interested in a lot of YouTube, different YouTube people. I'm interested in vloggers. I'm interested in drones. I enjoy watching people that create short movies. I think I must subscribe to about 30 channels that create proper short movies. And I am envious of people like that, because that is something I would love to do, is get in with a few, you know. I mean, I've had this idea and I've mentioned it to quite a few people that I don't know whether you saw Ridley Scott's A Day in the Life, where he asked YouTubers to take footage of their everyday life and then created, what was it, about a 90-minute film.
I did see that.
And I would love to do that as small YouTubers, you know.
Wow.
If we could get enough in our little community, and then we all film out just one day in our life, and then we all send the footage to each other, and then we could all edit and see how different our edits would be.
Oh, I think that's a fantastic idea, Keith. I think you're the man to encourage people to do that. And I can't see why you can't do that. I'm sure you've got enough contacts and people now already that, and all of your contacts, and spread the word to their contacts.
Yeah. Well, it's getting enough around our community. You know, the States, Australia, the UK, and many, many other lands. I mean, Owen's just said he would do it. Yeah. You know, because I reckon that if we all got each other's footage, you know, so if there was 20 in the group that would do it, if we get 20, 25 people doing it, and we all sent the footage to each other, I'd love to see how the different edits come out on different channels.
Yeah, we'd all have a different outlook on it and pick different bits out of people's lives and things. Yeah, I think that's great. Well, you know, count me in if you ever do decide to go.
Well, I'm going to try and arrange it, you know, because I've got, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got about 7 people who said they would so far, but I want to get about 20 to 25 people involved in it. And then we'll get together on Hangouts, private Hangouts. We'll arrange a date when to do it, so it's a particular day, and then, you know, see how we do, because I think it'd be fascinating.
Well, I totally agree on that, and yeah, I think if we can do that, like, I will certainly mention it next time I do a live stream for you, and see if anybody else is interested and wants to come on board with you. But yeah, fantastic opportunity to see how people live and to see how different YouTubers edit as well. Yeah.
Well, that's why I thought, you know, so I'll definitely try to arrange it then now, and we'll get together. Now I can get in touch with you on Hangouts, and we'll see what we can do. I think Vinny will be up for it.
Oh, for sure.
Granny Monster, I'd love her to be involved in it as well. I think she'd be brilliant on it.
Oh, yeah, I think she would too. Yeah, I agree.
So, you know, and there's quite a few other YouTubers who I'd like to get involved in it as well, you know. So, I'll ask around now then. So, what else can I think about now? Oh, yeah. Who is your favourite YouTuber?
Oh, that's really...
channel that you enjoy watching at present?
Oh, so hard to say. I enjoy most droners channels, particularly people at the moment I'm watching a few droners who live in Scandinavian countries. Can't name anybody specifically off the top of my head, but yeah, where the countryside is so completely different to mine. What I am doing of late though, Keith, is I've been watching what is it called? Media influencers. I think that's their name. Basically, because he's got fantastic hints on growing YouTube channels, and that's obviously what I'm trying really hard to do. As you know, I've got probably 300 new subscribers this year since I've started working on it. Yeah. And yeah, media influencers is definitely somebody that I'd encourage people to go and have a look at. But yeah, I just like meeting new people too. You know, I've started watching Pixie's live stream, as you know, and I pick and choose at random different people that I like to watch for a few videos, and then I might move on. But I check my subscription, my subscription video feeds every day, and don't always watch all of them, but just ones that particularly strike me as being of interest. And of course, I find it really hard. You're probably the same. You subscribe to an awful lot of channels, and not everybody produces as much content as we do. So some people only might produce a video every month or something, every couple of months even, whereas you and I are putting up a couple a week at least. So
yeah. This is a problem. As your channel grows and you subscribe to more channels, you haven't got the time to watch everyone. That's why the people who comment on my videos, I will watch. I've got the notification bell on mine, and I watch all their videos. Because if they've taken the time to comment, then I respect that. So I will go back and always watch their videos. The people that don't comment on my videos, and you know, it'd be the same on yours. You can look, and as I've said, you've got the basic core of 40 or 50 subscribers who comment and watch everything. Yeah. The rest don't. So I'm like you. If I see something I like, I'll sit and watch it. You know, I enjoy live streams, but some of them now are getting to be 4, 5, 6, 7 hours, and you can't stop watching 6 or 7 hours of people chatting away. No,
exactly right. Exactly right.
So I might.
But yes, supporting your other, as you say, supporting your subscriber base is definitely important. And I'm glad you do that. It's certainly something that I try to do. And apologies to any of my subscribers whose videos I may have missed, but I generally try to do that.
Yeah. So we've been on about an hour and 20 minutes, I think. 2 hours.
Oh my goodness.
2 hours ago, it says here. So we'll finish the broadcast, the live one-to-one. So
great.
Do you want to mention that you're doing a live stream? Your next live stream?
Yeah, I'm going to do a live stream again on Sunday morning my time. So that will be Saturday evening your time, probably about 8 p.m. your time. And we'll hopefully I'll see a few more people there. And I want to apologize to anyone who went into my live stream last week. It was my first real attempt at one, and I made a huge mistake. Don't ever put your Google Hangout link on your channel. No. You get all of the trolls and haters. So I won't be doing that again, but certainly I'd love to see yourself, Keith, and anybody else who wants to pop along on Sunday morning.
Yeah. Well, you know, as soon as I make a comment in, you know, I'm willing to join. So yeah, if you know how to add me, you know, because I could never do it like you did the first time, and like Vince does, just sat there reading the comments and answering the comments. I prefer seeing somebody and talking to somebody.
Well, I'd love to add you in, and I hope we can do that on Sunday if you're there.
Yeah. So thank you all again who have been in the chat. Myself and Matt really appreciate that. And I've got another one-to-one on Thursday evening with Bossman, and that's at 10 p.m. UK time. So we both appreciate you all coming in and joining in the chat. So I'm going to say good night. So bye all, and thank you very much, Matt. Keep on.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you having me on your channel.